What's up YouTube? I'm Vaughn and this is the Gear channel where we discuss collectibles, hobbies, kabay games from tabletop to video games, and today we are looking at the misconception of inherent summons. Now this is the phrase that makes a lot of judges ear bleed because it's just so generic. It can mean all different types of summoning, and a lot of people have the assumption that it's either just a summoning that doesn't start a chain, or it's either just a summoning that applies with like cards that saying cannot be normal summon or set. So in today's video, we want to show you the difference between summoning conditions, summoning restrictions, activated effects to special summon, and non-activated effects to special summon. Now the last one, some of you might be confused and be like, what is a non-activating effect of special summoning? And yeah, it's probably a phrase that most people don't ever hear because it's definitely one that is usually explained very well at higher tier events by head judges, but it's not a ruling that's really promoted, and it's definitely one that you want to take advantage of because in against certain card to card interaction, it really matters a lot. So before we begin, remember to always like and subscribe because it really helps the channel a lot and I do really appreciate it. So let's get started. So starting first with summoning conditions. So as you can clearly see, we have Blacklisted Soldier that says cannot be normal summon or set, must be special summon from your hand by banishing one light and one dark monster from your graveyard. Now, all special summoning condition does not necessarily mean that it has to be only from the hand. We also have the Infernoid, which also special summon himself by the graveyard. Now you have to consider summoning conditions like this to be like a vanilla like Link monster. So if you look at like Monk, okay, so it has no effect. It literally has one Link monster and then 10 monsters. So this gives you the best idea of a summoning condition, to really consider that it's not an effect or part of like the card at all. It's just a condition of the card and it doesn't start any chain links. It's more in the category of an action, okay? So you have to consider this. Now, some of you might look at this and be like, well, that's easy. Look at the cannot be normal summon or set and simple. Well, we do have other demonstrations. Look at Chaos Valkyrie. Cannot be normal summon or set, but must be special summon by a card effect. Now, that is not a summon condition. That is a restriction. By applying that it cannot be normal summon or set and must be special summon by a card effect, that is showing that it is a restriction, this part, but it's actually in effect the way to spell summon because you can banish one light or dark monster from your graveyard. Now, if you see the dot with the little like curve over there, okay, that is the cost. Okay, that means you're going to have to reveal Chaos Valkyrie from hand to banish a light or dark as a cost, and then you're able to special summon this card from your hand. Now that is a cost, but we also have another demonstration of a trigger effect, which is going to show you that it is a condition. So when a specific condition occurs, okay, that's when you're able to activate the card. So if we look at if a Salamangreat monster is sent to the graveyard, except Salamangreat Gazelle, except during the damage step, 2 dots. Now 2 dots are always shown to be a condition, and then the dots with the, I always forget those names, that is a cost. Okay, so those are 2 key things. So you can special summon this card from your hand. So it shows that the condition has been met, you reveal it. If nothing was respawned, then you could do the actual effect. Now we have another demonstration of showing you what is a restriction, what is a condition, and also what is a cost. So Chaos Nephis has all 3 categories. So cannot be normal summon or set, must be special summon by its own effect, okay? If cards on the field is destroyed by a card effect, you see the 2 dots, okay, that's the condition. You can banish one light and one dark monster from your graveyard except Chaos Nephis. Dot exclamation or comma, always forgot what it is. Okay, that is the cost. Okay, so we have the restriction, we have the condition, and then we have the cost. Okay, very important to notice the key factors. Now, another thing that you have to know is that we're going to go into the non-activating effects. So like Cyber Dragon. Okay, this is not a summoning condition. Okay, this is an effect that doesn't activate from hand. So that means a card like Mind Drain, which neither player can activate effects of monsters in hand, won't apply because Cyber Dragon doesn't activate. But it's a very different story for a lot of different cards when it involves the graveyard. So if we look at Grapha and Machina, these are actually effects that don't activate. They don't have cost. It's just one effect that doesn't activate. So a card like Abyss Drella, which says your opponent cannot activate effects in the graveyard, you can still summon your Grapha or even your Machina Fortress. But what you cannot do is summon them under Necro Valley. Now, this is the official most recent update of Necro Valley, which is negate any card effect that would move a card in the graveyard to a different place. So that means that both Grapha and Machina Fortress effects will be negated. So Grapha, now you have to keep in mind that you can special summon this card from your hand by returning one Dark World monster you control to the hand except for Grapha, okay? That is not a condition or a cost, that is one effect. So that means you're not able to even return and just have it negated because there is no cost towards it. So you won't be able to use it if you want to strategize of adding a Dark World to the hand. Same thing applies with Machina Fortress. You won't be able to discard any machine monsters to try to attempt to spell summon it from the graveyard while Necro Valley is on the board. Now some of you would be like, well, what would happen if Machina Fortress was in your hand first and you use the effect, okay, to discard himself and another machine monster so you can spell summon Machina Fortress from the graveyard? Well, let me explain. At that specific incident, that's going to be the resolve as much as possible. Okay, because it doesn't determine the location until the resolution part, and that's where Necro Valley is going to negate. So yes, you're going to be able to discard Fortress from your hand with another machine monster, but then when it's going to try to move from the graveyard, Necro Valley is negating it. Okay, now, this only applies towards effects, so which means that your Infernoids are able to actually summon freely because none of the summoning condition involves any type of effect. This is all one summoning condition and not an effect. So you can actually play all your Infernoids from your graveyard while Necro Valley is still on the field, or even Abyss Drella. These two do not impact Infernoids at all. And that's it for a video of Inherent Summon. I hope this gives you an idea of how to pinpoint which is a summoning condition, summoning restriction, activating effects, and non-activating effects, because these are keynotes that you have to look at when deciding if you are going to go in a specific play, because card to card interactions like this really does matter, and this is a big game changer if you did not know these type of rulings. Now, if you guys enjoyed today's video, you know what to do. Like and subscribe. And if you want a sneak peek of future products we're planning to review here on the channel, you can follow me on my Instagram, VaughnGear. I'm Vaughn, and this was the Gear Channel.